Howdy folks, it is winter time and that means it's citrus season, and to me citrus season means it's time to make a citrus cordial. I'm going to show you how easy it is. I'm even going to go the extra mile and make you a gin fizz. Let's go. Okay, I have made cordials before in the past Januaries on the channel. I'm actually a little bit late this year. I will oftentimes just make gimlets with them. Gin, cordial, and some kind of liqueur to sweeten it up. Those are delicious, but it works with pretty much any spirit and any liqueur. Just a very fun and versatile ingredient, the cordial. Now I'm gonna just show you how to make this cordial, but before I get to that, I just wanna emphasize that this can be done with any citrus. You don't need the citruses that I'm gonna use. You could just do it with lime and make a nice lime cordial. Grapefruit works great. I'm sure Yuzu would be awesome. Any number of citruses will work. As long as it's citrus, it'll make a citrus cordial. My plan going into this was to make a kumquat cordial, but due to, I think, the rains down in California, somehow ruined the kumquat crop. I don't know if that's actually true, but I could not find kumquats at the store, no matter how many stores I went to. So I guess there's just no kumquats in Oregon this year. But I did find these mandarinquats. I guess that's a hybrid between a mandarin and a kumquat. There are a bunch of different sort of weird hybrids that I see at the store sometimes, including lime quats and some other quat, but for whatever reason, no kumquats. I combined my mandarinquats with a couple of Seville oranges, which are just amazing. Sort of very bitter skins. And I also threw in a lime just for fun. Just for fun. So for kumquats, or in this case mandarinquats, you're just gonna slice them up and put them into a container that you can cover. For Sevilles and limes and other bigger citruses, you're gonna wanna juice the citrus, and we're just gonna use the hulls. You can of course use the juice for something if you like. Seville juice tastes a little weird, but might make an interesting sour. You know what? Knock yourself out. Make yourself a Seville sour. You're gonna wanna weigh how much hulls you have and make a note of how much they weigh, because you're gonna want that information later. You're gonna put on an equal weight of sugar, cover up the container, and let it sit overnight. The next day, the sugar should have sucked a bunch of the citrus oils out of the peels, and you'll have a sort of damp, clumpy sugar. Check your notes on how much sugar you put in, and add that same amount of hot water to dissolve the sugar. You're basically making a 1-to-1 citrus syrup at this point. You'll then strain out the hulls from your syrup. Now you're gonna add citric acid. You're gonna do this at 3%. So you're gonna do 3 grams of citric acid per 100 milliliters of your syrup. 3% is the level that I like. You could make it more tart than that or less. It's really up to you. But 3% is a nice happy medium. Also, as a side note, if you were doing just lime, you could also add malic acid. I just used citric acid this time. It came out delicious. And that's all there is to it. Let's give us a little taste so we can see what we're getting ourselves into. Man, it is tart. It sort of hits you in the back of the jaw like a nice tart lemon, but the sugar offsets it, so it's like sweet and then tart, and it's got a really nice sort of tangerine kind of mandarin orange flavor. Really very, very good. Just a little hint of sort of bitterness from the Sevilles. I love this. Now, as I mentioned before, this goes great in a gimlet. It makes a fun, like, citrusy soda. You could combine it with tequila. You could do tequila, cordial, and soda water and make a sort of a Paloma variation. Amazing. And you don't even need to add booze. You could just have cordial and soda, and that's delicious as well. Okay, but today we're going full fizz, and we're gonna make a fizz. Now, we were gonna do this at work before we found out that kumquats were not available, and as soon as we started talking about making kumquat cordial, I had an idea for the name of this drink. 400 Quatloos Against The Newcomers. Now, if you don't understand that joke, it's because you're either a lot younger than me or you're not a very, very big nerd, but I'll give you a little hint.
400 Quatloos Against The Newcomers.
Anyway, let me just say a few things about fizzes in general and this fizz in particular before we get to mixing. A fizz seems very complicated, but it's actually not a big deal. It's basically just a gin sour with egg white and cream. For this fizz, I found that you don't really need the egg white. I find it to be perfectly fine with just whipped cream, so I'm gonna do that. Furthermore, in my experience, if you're trying to get that nice foamy head to come out of the glass, you want to try and use a small-ish glass. Fine, this is the sort of the smallest one that I could find in my cabinet. And on that note, you don't want to add just a ton of soda water in order to get that effect, because you're going to water the drink down a lot. So I'm actually making a somewhat larger drink. So when you see the recipe in a minute, it's going to seem like it's a large amount of gin, for example, but that's just because we're adding a fair amount of soda water, so we're gonna, counteract that with plenty of gin. And one more thing, there's a lot of sort of lore about a gin fizz, like a Ramos gin fizz, where you have to shake it for 10 minutes or whatever it is. That's not really necessary. Although they may have done that back in the day in New Orleans in 1888 or whatever when they invented it, it really isn't necessary. In fact, you don't really have to even dry shake it. I think when I first started making these, I would dry shake the egg white and cream and then add the ice and shake it as normal. But you know what? You don't have to do that at all. You just use one sort of smallish ice cube, one regular sort of 1-inch ice cube, and then you just shake that with everything in it until the ice cube dissolves and goes away completely. This gives you plenty of cooling for the drink, but minimal dilution. And that's good because when we pour in all that soda water, we won't be diluting the drink over much. Okay, that's a lot of points, but one last thing about this particular gin fizz. I found this stuff, this Yuzu concentrate. I was going to put it into the cordial to see how that tasted, but when I tasted the Yuzu concentrate on its own, it was extremely salty. This is a Japanese product, and it's just Yuzu and salt, and it's pretty salty, and I was worried about ruining my batch of cordial, so I thought I would put a little bit into this fizz, and we'll see how that tastes. This fizz is also going to get a little Yellow Chartreuse just for a little pizzazz, and I'm putting in some of Southern Teague's Driftwood bitters, which are cinnamon and grapefruit, just to spice things up a little bit. All right, that's all I want to say about fizzes and this fizz. Let's shake it up. 400 Quatloos Against The Newcomers.
400 Quatloos Against The Newcomers. 400 Quatloos Against The Newcomers. 400 Quatloos Against The Newcomers.
'Alright, let's check out this beauty. I don't always go like all out on the garnish, but this looks pretty cool. This is some freeze-dried blackberries on top that I got from my friend a while back. My friend Justin. Thanks, Justin. Now, this foam got a little sideways on me. If you fill it up a little bit slower than I did and you wait 30 seconds a minute and then put a little more in and wait, and it'll firm up while you're waiting. And so it'll get that nice tall stack on it. I went a little bit too fast on the first pour, but still, this came out pretty good. I'm gonna just lick this off. Let me give this a sip. Ooh. That is very citrusy. That yuzu, I think, adds a little perfumey element to it. I didn't mind the salt. A little salt actually is kind of awesome. We should probably be putting more salt in more drinks all the time anyway. I don't get a ton of yellow chartreuse, but I think I can detect it in the sort of herbal quality and the aftertaste. Let me have another sip. Fizzes are delicious. This is a lovely, very citrusy fizz. I'm very happy with this. Just a little hint of salt, and the yuzu really kind of kicks things up a notch. I think I'm pretty happy with this. 400 Quatloos Against The Newcomers. All right, it is time to go find yourself some citrus before it's too late and make a citrus cordial. They're delicious, they're versatile, they're easy to make. Go ahead and do that. Leave a comment if there's something else you'd like me to try. In the meantime, thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time.
Quatloos Against the Newcomers.